Hi, I'm Ethan Morgan, freshman at Marshall County High School.
And I'm Madison Hayes, junior at McCracken County High School. Welcome to West Kentucky Student News. In our top story, the Kentucky Department of Education released its annual school report card data from the 2021 through 2022 academic year as required by the statute in the federal Every Student Succeeds Act. Assessments were administered to more than 300,000 students in grades 3 through 8 and 10 through 11 during the spring of 2022. The KDE released the K-Prep scores this past month, and they took a little bit different compared to what we've seen this year's past. The scores plummeted. Mustang TV's Ella Choop and Marianne Puertoliano dove into the numbers.
Before COVID, 53% of Kentucky students scored proficient or distinguished on their reading tests, which is about where the Kentucky Department of Education says students needed to be. Now the KDE says that less than 50% are reading at grade level. Meanwhile, a little over one-third of students can solve math problems educators think they should know. This number was a little over 40% before the pandemic. McCracken County Schools Superintendent Steve Carter gave us his opinion on the decreased performance and plans for the future.
McCracken County Public Schools, the high school, performed very well. And our state has used this year to set a baseline with the new testing system for the next 6 years.
Compared to other high schools in Kentucky, McCracken scored in the yellow level, which was the third level out of 5. This means McCracken County High School is considered average across Kentucky. However, Carter isn't concerned.
We will recover because we're really trying to catch up some lost opportunities. And I think we'll be able to do that. So I don't think it's a long-term concern, especially for us locally.
With COVID changing the way we learned for the past few years, many obstacles got in the way of some students' learning. Specifically, students of lower socioeconomic class performed worse on their tests than students in the middle to higher socioeconomic classes. Despite this, it wasn't as large of a problem for our district as it was for the state as a whole.
We try to remove all those obstacles, whether it's from a low socioeconomic status, or, again, we talk about diversity, providing and making sure everybody has an equal opportunity to have access to the potential to be the best person that they can be.
All of these new statistics pose a question that we students have had for a long time. Why should we try on K-Prep? What is in it for us?
Well, there has to be some intrinsic motivation for that, but also understand that that can be used as an indicator to how well you know the content or how well the instruction has been provided, and in turn perform better on an ACT that, like you said, involves potential bumps and keys money.
Ella and Marianne surveyed McCracken students about their opinion on K-Prep and whether they try or not on the test. About 80% say they try their best on the ACT. That's compared to only 44% for K-Prep. Meanwhile, 47% say they're just not self-motivated, as 54% say they're rewards motivated.
And what does it take to keep the lights on in your home? Electrical students from Marshall County Technical Center recently toured the 3 TVA power plants in our area. Jameson Wells toured the plant with his camera and has the story.
I'm here with the MCHS electrical class at the Shawnee Power Plant, where the students have been taking a tour and learning about possible career options in the electrical field.
The day started off at the Kentucky Dam Hydroelectric Power Plant with a quick history lesson and then a plant tour.
This is Unit 1 that's closest to you, and then that's Unit 5 on the far end.
After taking a look at the generators, the class looked at the drive shaft that connects the generators to the water turbine.
The turbine is under all these plates. There's an encasing, but then the turbine is below us in there in the water. You can come over here. I'll show you where the gates that go in to block the river. They're over here. So we use that crane. That's the spillway crane. We use it to lift those gates out. Like that middle gate's 59.5 tons. The lower one's 76 tons. This one's, I think, 28 tons.
Then the class went to the Quick Start natural gas power plant in Calvert City.
So this is power block A with units 1 and 2 on there. And I'll show you here in a little bit, but on the other side, there's 1 transformer. So you got 2 units feeding 1 transformer, step-up transformer we talked about. That takes that power out of the plant. And at the same time, we would exhaust all that fuel oil in about 48 hours. So it's basically you got 3 processors, but 1's in control, 2 are in the backup. So all the field wiring resides in this side. So that's all your pressure switches, flow switches, motor control. 1 guy can operate 8 units, 640 megawatts. A coal plant, You know, I just asked my manager who's just started this week, he's from Shawnee. It takes 21 guys on a shift to operate a coal plant. We can do it one guy.
Speaking of Shawnee, let's see why Shawnee needs so many more people to operate.
Y'all look up. This is where we store all of our coal per unit. It goes up 3.5 stories. If you look over here, those big red circles, that's where all the coal is being injected, and that's where it's being burned into the boiler. That flame is 2,000 degrees. All of that ash comes down, falls through, and gets shot out. This sack right here is where all of our emissions go to, so all of our air that goes into the unit eventually comes out up through that sack. 200 degrees, but by the time it gets to the top, it's about 5 degrees hotter than ambient temperature.
Throughout the course of the day, the kids learned all about the TVA and how they make power.
All three of those are plants that generate electricity, which, as you can see, it fits my scope of work pretty good. And there's just so many different opportunities there for different kids, different students when they graduate, that it's a huge benefit for them to go see that stuff.
Being able to walk around and see how it all works and how it's all put together, it really blows my mind.
Honestly, looking out over the water, looking at the gates, that's pretty cool.
Budget cuts issued with the printers and teacher changes cut the physical student newspaper several years ago at McCracken County High School. Now Mrs. Rathgaber, in her Introduction to Journalism class, is bringing the news back. Mustang Messenger student Jaden Herzog explains.
So the Mustang Messenger is basically it's not paper right now, it's online. And it's a website that we have where we post from op-eds to local events to school events, sports, and we just post various articles about various different things.
Also returning in McCracken's own podcast, McCrackalacken, with the new host, Mustang Media Senior and News Director Justice Beard. And remember to keep a lookout for McCrackalacken wherever you listen to your podcasts. The first episode is there now.
Recently, Marshall County High School had a career fair for their students. 56 local businesses came to set up and inform Marshall students about their potential future career opportunities in store for them. Nearly 800 sophomores, juniors, as well as seniors participated. Here's Ms. Paige Buchanan with the Marshall Mission.
It is so important we have a career fair here for all of our students because we just want them to know there are other options. There are local options. I know at this age, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, what do I want to do? This just lets you really speak to somebody that does that career.
The Marshall County High School Career Fair is a great way for students to find jobs right out of the high school in their area.
Recently, over 500 school students from the 6 school districts visited the campus of West Kentucky Community and Technical College as part of Gear Up, a project administered by West Kentucky Educational Cooperative Gear Up, which stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs. Is a program designed to increase the high school graduation and college-going rates of students from low-income households. Students toured the campus exploring education and employment pathways available to them after graduation, ranging from nursing and surgical health tech and cosmetology, welding to culinary and industrial maintenance and more. The West Kentucky Educational Cooperative hopes that such tours will shine a light for students who may be in poverty, giving them hope for a better future.
In helping area girls explore options for careers, WKCTC also recently hosted over 100 5th grade through high school girls at STEM for Girls event. It was a fun time of learning, fun exploring careers and making new friends, centered around the topics of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The event was a team effort between the Challenger Learning Center at Paducah, the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership. Volunteers from WKCTC and the area businesses helped demonstrate STEM-related activities and discuss careers in STEM fields. The featured speakers for the annual event were Dr. Alice Higdon, Mercy Health Paducah, and Kristen Williams, Baptist Health Paducah. They discussed careers in healthcare. If you would like to get involved in STEM for girls, contact Melissa Duncan at the Challenger Learning Center, 270-534-3097, or melissa.duncan at kctcs.edu.
And when it comes to time to decide what to do after high school, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics say 62% of those graduating will enroll in college. For those going, finding the right one can be overwhelming. Mustang TV's Justice Beard experienced this firsthand, saying the key is visiting in person.
Like many others, finding the right college for me has been a very stressful process. One thing that helped me out is visiting the campuses. In my search, I visited a total of 6 different colleges. This allowed me to get a feel for what the colleges were really like, interact with current students, and talk to advisors in my degree field. But don't just take my word for it. Fellow senior Ashley Higdon also visits colleges she's interested in.
Getting to see the college in person kind of just like let me actually see what it would feel like to be on the campus and really get a grasp of like if I could see myself going to that school. And it also let me see other students that like actually go to the school and watch how they interact and go about their day-to-day activities.
Visiting colleges can also give you information you wouldn't have known otherwise.
I really don't think that I would have known all of the housing options that I would be offered. Because that's not something that I would really think about other than if I like went to the school and actually got to see them.
Visiting colleges as an athlete is also different. I've been able to connect with coaches and have an inside look into potential college teams through visits.
If you are interested in a college, call their admissions office to set up a visit. If you miss school for a visit, the college will often give you an excuse form for the day.
High school football is almost over and basketball practices are happening all over our area. To kick off the season, the Marshall County, the Lady Marshals are doing something different this year. For Media Day, new uniforms are passed out and the team photos are taken, just like any other season. But this time, the local media outlets showed up to ask questions to the players as well as the coaches. The look and feel is similar to college media days. The new format brings exposure to the program and helps prepare students, athletes for the future.
I think it's great to shed light on women's athletics, girls' athletics in our community, public speaking, that opportunity to have that interview, go through that process, and then, you know, we talk a lot about being comfortable being uncomfortable, and interviewing and being in the public eye isn't something that is very comfortable to many people. So putting them in those situations, I think, can only better them.
For the past 10 years, Community Christian Academy has celebrated Pastor Appreciation Month by hosting local pastors for a meal and a time for a facility and students to express their thankfulness for what pastors do for our communities every day. Here to tell us more is Harrison Ramsey from CCA.
The staple of the church and the glue that holds us Christians to Jesus are our pastors. Pastors are what links us Christians to God, and our pastors work their tail ends off to help us grow in our relationship with God.
There's a question that we are here to say, and it's, why do we honor our pastors and church leaders?
We want to partner with churches, and we know how difficult their job is as area pastors and leaders, and so we thought this was a good opportunity to be able to pour back into them after they give so much of themselves week in and week out. They invest in our students, and so we wanted to invest in them.
They go out of their way to teach and preach the Word of God to us. These are only a few of the reasons we love to celebrate our pastors.
So what does pastor appreciation mean to you?
It's just nice to be recognized for the efforts that you give. You know, it's sometimes it's a thankless job. Like, you always catch people in their worst moments and they're coming to you. But it's nice just to be recognized for the work that you do. And honestly, for me, just to be able to see the students practicing their gifts and their talents to try to be a blessing to somebody else.
Hugely inspiring and uplifting. I think any minister could tell you that when you live a life that you always have people watching you, or you always feel like you have to hold yourself up to a certain standard, it can tire you out. You can get dragged down pretty quickly, and it is easy to get caught up in the negatives of this life when it's full of positives. But when you live a life of ministry, that's just kind of what happens. And so we need this. Like, we need these times of rejuvenation and support and inspiration, just why we're here, why we do this.
Every year we hold Pastor Appreciation to celebrate our pastors. This year was actually our 10-year anniversary.
I think the first one that CCA did was in 2012, and my kids have always gone to school here and actually graduated from here, so I was at that first one. So it's pretty cool to see the progression. One, for me, just to see the number of students that we have versus the students that we had even at that first one, so it's pretty exciting.
We all have pastors. We all go to church somewhere, and even if it's not every Sunday, we do go to our churches, and we know those people are important, and they do lots of different things, and we need to thank them more than once a year, but going all out like we do once a year is fantastic.
Pastors have always been a blessing to us, so it's nice to be able to bless them back. We gather in our gym to play music, sing, recite poetry, and praise God in celebration of them.
We hope that we can always continue to honor you by living godly lives.
Students in West Kentucky Community and Technical College's Student Art and Design Club are beginning work on the next edition of Defining Paducah, a coloring book designed to help them and the entire community learn about influential city leaders and places from the past and now, people and places in the present. Defining Paducah began as an annual public art installation, and now through the coloring book reaches a wider audience. Here to tell us more at the club advisors Tanya Knightsky and Emily Esau, along with the Student Art and Design Club president Brandon McFarland.
Defining Paducah started back in 2019 when we wanted to do something for Black History Month. We thought about covering or painting portraits of Rosa Parks, like common historical figures, but we thought, like, let's look more locally. And so we celebrated past African Americans and a few present people that had impact that maybe people didn't know about.
For the first two exhibitions, we had artists painting portraits, and we had visual communications doing layout and a little bit of event planning and things like that. And then we had to pivot, as most people did in 2020.
We decided to take all that information from the 2 years of celebrating Defining Paducah and celebrating people, and we decided, like, what if we brought it into a coloring book form? Because coloring books are educational. The members of the club hand-bound 600 of them, and we distributed them among schools in the area. We got such popular demand that we needed more of them, so it's actually on Amazon.
Our students are going out, and they're the ones that are doing the interviews. Like our current president of the Art and Design Club, Brandon, he already knew people. He was like, you need to be featured.
What we want to do is highlight people, businesses, just things in the community that might not be as known or recognized, and what we want to do is kind of shine a little light on them and give them their appreciation. And with the coloring book specifically, we want to highlight Black excellence and really kind of give our flowers to the people that are still making the path for the people that are coming up or even the next generations to come. I think it's really important we don't stay in the past, but also look at the people here now trying to make change.
Make sure to be on the lookout for Defining Paducah in 2023. Follow the Student Art and Design Club on Facebook for updates.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of West Kentucky Student News. See you next time.
The therapist will contact you.